Do you really need a licensed real estate assistant to help you grow your team? Or would an unlicensed assistant suit your needs? In this video, I break down the difference between a licensed and an unlicensed real estate assistant's job description, and we'll talk about some of the pros and cons of hiring a licensed assistant. Stick with me. Hi, I'm Vanessa Rosenblum. I'm the president of Pro REA Staffing, where we are passionate about fostering careers in real estate and growing real estate teams. For help growing your team or finding your dream job in real estate, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you are notified every time we post a new video. For the past 10 years, Pro REA Staffing has been placing licensed and unlicensed real estate assistants with teams nationwide. And at this point, we've placed close to 1,000 real estate assistants across the country. I mean, I can't even believe it's been that many. So I've had this licensed versus unlicensed conversation with a lot of agents. And today I'm gonna break down the real estate assistant job description for you. Now, before we get into it, I do want to give you one caveat. We're going to base this conversation on California law. And we're doing that because we place a lot of assistants in California, and California is one of the most highly regulated states in the nation. So we're going to use them as the benchmark. If you're not in California, some of this might not completely apply to you, and you should check the laws in your state for licensed versus unlicensed assistants. However, I'm confident that the basics that we're talking about today are universal across the country. All right, let's dig in. So today we're going to walk through the real estate sales cycle and talk about the licensed versus unlicensed assistant job description for each of these steps. So let's dig in and start with lead generation. Now, an assistant can really do everything you would expect from an assistant when it comes to lead generation. They're going to manage your database, provide your call lists, schedule appointments, prepare materials, and they can even make general inquiry phone calls to prospective clients. However, they may not solicit business, and personally, I know brokerages that absolutely will not allow assistants to make any kind of general inquiry call to a prospect because they're really concerned about that person stepping over the line of what's appropriate. Now, a licensed assistant can do everything you do, and so they could solicit business and make cold calls for you. And I could make a whole nother video on why you do not want your assistant to act like a sales agent and solicit business. Your job is to sell. Their job is to support you in that. So when it comes to the lead generation portion of your business, you only need an unlicensed assistant. Moving on to buyers. Now, an unlicensed assistant can research properties, schedule showings, they can provide feedback, they can even open doors for clients. So let's say you have a buyer who wants to go back and see a house a second time. It's completely appropriate for your unlicensed assistant to open that door for them. And they can draft offers under your supervision. Now, a licensed assistant can discuss price and square footage, they can discuss the merits of the home and the neighborhood, and then they could write and submit an offer for that buyer. When it comes to listings, an unlicensed assistant can handle a lot, from preparing you for the appointment to preparing the CMA, the comparative market analysis, to all of the project management that goes into the pre-listing process, to coordinating showings and open houses and writing property descriptions. They can even prepare the disclosure packages and receive and organize offers. So if you are in a position to hire a listing/marketing coordinator, I would not be concerned about them holding a real estate license. Now, as your team grows and you're handing off more and more of your core responsibilities, a licensed assistant can help you by discussing the contents of the CMA with the client. They can discuss the offers that are received with the client. They can draft and submit counter offers, hold open houses, and show the property while discussing the merits of the property. So as you can see, those are usually the things that you're going to hold on to the longest. So for most people who are considering hiring their first or second assistant, if focusing on listings is a core part of the job that you need filled, an unlicensed assistant is probably sufficient. Moving on to transactions, an unlicensed assistant or a transaction coordinator can handle a lot of these core responsibilities, from preparing and coordinating the signing of all the documents, serving as the core point of communication between all parties. They can order closing gifts, schedule inspections, and really manage the process from start to finish. What they can't do is negotiate requests for repairs and discuss the contract with the client. And then finally, administration and marketing. We don't even have a slide on here for a licensed assistant because when it comes to the general administration of your office and coordinating your marketing programs, a license is not required. All right, let's talk the pros and cons. Pros versus cons of hiring a licensed real estate assistant. Now, on the pro side, a licensed assistant can do everything you do. You can go on vacation, it gives you flexibility and leverage, and it reduces your liability if you have any concern that your unlicensed assistant might do licensed tasks. Now, there are also cons, and the biggest one is there are just fewer licensed real estate assistants out there, and therefore they command a higher salary. So if you're looking to hire your first or second assistant and you don't need all of that firepower, you could save yourself several $1,000s a year by not hiring a licensed assistant, and then you can just require that your assistant get licensed on the job. Now, the other thing to think about is the cost of maintaining their license. If you require that they have a license to do the job and they're not allowed to sell on the side, you need to maintain their license for them. And what that cost will depend on what brokerage you're with and where you live in the country. And then finally, there's the issue of a licensed assistant potentially leaving you to go into sales. Now, personally, I don't have an issue with this, but this is something that comes up time and time again, so I want to talk about it here. Now, if you have a new licensee who comes in for the interview and they say, I can't wait to start selling and I want to work with you for 6 months to learn everything you do and I'm going to go out into sales, don't hire that person. Unless you're trying to hire a buyer's agent and you're confident they'll actually stick with you. But that's probably a terrible hire, even if you're aspiring for them to grow into a sales role on your team, because that person isn't going to care about the admin work in your office. Now, if you have someone who says, yeah, I've been licensed for a few years and maybe in the future I might like to sell, but it's just not something that fits my lifestyle right now. I'm really interested in being an admin, but I don't know what the future holds. And you really like that person and they have a great admin skill set, hire them. You don't know what your business is going to look like 2 to 3 years from now, and you don't know what their life is going to look like 2 or 3 years from now. And projecting that far into the future and deciding, I'm not going to hire this talented person because they might leave me to go sell, is a really bad idea. You're missing a huge opportunity. I would always prefer to see a client hire a rock star admin who sticks with them for a year and dramatically increases their business versus hiring an okay person who's okay with the status quo, who sticks around for 5 years. Yes, I know hiring is painful and annoying and expensive and disruptive, but it's worth it if you hire great people, even if they don't stay with you forever. So yes, it's a con if you have an assistant who may leave you to go into sales in the future, but I think it's a con worth compromising over. If you're ready to hire your licensed or unlicensed real estate assistant, make sure to download our free report on the 5 job ad must-haves. We have spent years cracking the code on how to attract talent through our job ads, and we're going to share some of the things that just you must do if you want to attract talent through your job ads. So click on the link in the description below and download that free report. And if you liked this video, please give us a like and consider subscribing so that you're one of the first to know when we post a new video. I'll see you on the next one.